Special thanks to Horizon Therapeutics for sponsoring the Special Fathers Network Dad to Dad podcast, working tirelessly to research, develop, and bring forward medicines for people living with rare and rheumatic diseases. Discover more about Horizon Therapeutics' mission at horizontherapeutics.com.
There's not one solution for one thing. You can't apply the same concepts you apply with your other children to your special needs children because it just doesn't work. You have to adapt to them and what works for them, because it's going to make your life a lot easier and it's going to make their life a lot more enjoyable. It's fun. I mean, it's fun to kind of grow together. Very frustrating at times, but fun nonetheless.
That's our guest this week, Gus Aguilera, a cinematic special effects and IT specialist and a father of 3 children, including his son Gabriel, 14, who has Down syndrome. We'll hear Gus's story and about the challenges of having a special needs son who is nonverbal. That's all on this Special Fathers Network Dad to Dad podcast. Now say hello to our host and the founder of the Special Fathers Network, David Hirsch.
Hi, and thanks for listening to the Dad to Dad podcast, Fathers Mentoring Fathers of Children with Special Needs, presented by the Special Fathers Network.
The Special Fathers Network is a dad-to-dad mentoring program for fathers raising children with special needs. Through our personalized matching process, new fathers with special needs children connect with mentor fathers in a similar situation. It's a great way for dads to support dads. To find out more, go to 21stcenturydads.org.
And if you're a dad looking for help or would like to offer help, we would be honored to have you join our closed Facebook group. Please go to facebook.com/groups and search Dad to Dad. Lastly, we're always looking to share interesting stories. If you'd like to share your story or know of a compelling story, please send an email to david@21stcenturydads.org.
So now let's listen to this conversation between Gus Aguilera and David Hirsch.
I'm thrilled to be talking today with Gus Aguilera of Oak Harbor, Washington, who's a digital effects and IT professional, a grandfather of 2 and father of 3, including a son with Down syndrome. Gus, thank you for taking the time to do a podcast interview for the Special Fathers Network.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You and your ex-wife, Bobbie Jo, were married for 36 years before divorcing earlier this year. You're the proud parents of 3 children, Cassandra, 35, Jordan, 27, and Gabriel, 14. Where did you grow up? Tell me something about your family.
Yeah, so we're originally from Orange County, California. Born and raised. We both are. My ex-wife, Bobbie, she originally was from Las Vegas, Nevada, and moved to California at a young age, and basically grew up there, went to school there, and we met in high school. So we're actually high school sweethearts. We do have 3 children. Cassandra, Cassie, was our first, and Jordan, now our middle child, and Gabe, who is our little special guy with Down syndrome. So it's been interesting, an interesting road, but it's been a fun run.
Well, let's go back a little bit. You mentioned you're from California, and I'm sort of curious to know, what did your dad do for a living?
So my dad worked for AMF. They did all sorts of stuff with baseballs, all the sports equipment and bowling balls. I think people would remember him from the bowling ball days. So he was a basically line producer, kind of just working on the lines and doing production stuff.
Okay. And if I remember correctly, he passed away about 12 or 13 years ago.
Yeah, 2010. Yeah. He was Dad was 75, I believe.
Okay. How would you characterize your relationship with your dad?
An interesting one. He just, he believed certain things, and we kind of clashed a little bit, but it was a strong relationship. I mean, I had a strong relationship with my dad. We did some things, where we try to communicate, and we kind of clashed a little bit, but he was always there. He supported me 110%, supported my kids. He was a great father and grandfather, and we miss him dearly.
Yeah, well, sorry to hear that he passed at a relatively early age. Any important takeaways that come to mind when you think about your dad? Something that perhaps you've tried to incorporate into your own fathering?
Just to be, I tend to be there in the moment. When my son Jordan was playing hockey, he made it a habit to kind of be there, whether he was feeling well or not. He made it a habit to go to the games and support and, do what he could, just to kind of have that, to be there in the moment for me and my son. So it's having those memories is best for myself and for my son.
What I hear you saying is that he was present.
He was, yeah.
And, that's one of the most important things that dads can do is to be present. Most of us think it's physical presence, but also trying to be emotionally present and psychologically and spiritually present as well. And, it's not always easy to do, right? Because most men are not emotional creatures. But some men find it difficult to be empathetic for that matter.
Absolutely.
So I'm thinking about other father figures, and I'm wondering if there's any other men that played an important role in your life, coaches or priests or neighbors' dads type of thing.
I want to say coaches. I mean, the coaches were when I played, when I was, a sports guy from a very, very young age. And I had a few coaches that kind of stepped up when we were going through some hard times and just making sure that things were okay, kind of making sure that, I'd stay out of trouble, guide me and kind of coach me even through high school and stuff like that. I was close with some, especially when I became a father at a young age. The level of respect that I had to basically decide to stick around and be a dad and kind of put everything on the back burner and, just not be, I guess, like most typical high school fathers or kids that impregnated their girlfriends and decided to not have any part of it. So then there are several teachers that helped me with that and helped me try to be the best dad that I could.
So to timestamp that, how old were you when Cassandra was born?
See here, Cassie, she was born in 88. I was 17.
Oh my.
16, 17. Yeah. She was born when I became a junior. I was playing baseball. I was all into sports. I was in band. My life was revolved around sports. I wanted to be a professional baseball player. I was actually being scouted at one point in my life. But again, I decided not to be, I guess, for better lack of term, a deadbeat dad. So I wanted to kind of stick around and be part of my child's life. My mom raised me with some pretty good values, which I think I still hold to this day. And I try to live by those values as much as possible. So old Hispanic woman, kind of just beating the stick.
Well, thanks for sharing. I have a special place in my heart for men, in most cases, teenagers who become fathers and like, oh my God, that was a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, now that I sit back and look at it, responsibility for both of us because, Bobbie she was a senior in high school. I was a freshman. And when we started going out and dating and then she graduated and here I am finishing up my sophomore year, about to become a junior and we're having a child together, and neither one of us were prepared or knew what to do. So it was a bit of a rift with parents and she never had a very good connection with her mom. She left home at a very young age. But, when Cassie was born, grandma kind of stepped up to help watch her and stuff, while we were still trying to figure our stuff out and figure out how to be parents. My parents were a little bit resentful, a little bit kind of pushed back a little bit just because, again, they had plans for their son and, those plans got interrupted by the choices that him and his girlfriend made. But it was one of the things where, we kind of just went with it. So.
Yeah, well, thank you for being so open and transparent about that. So I'm sort of curious to know, after high school, where did your career take you?
Oh, wow. Geez, it kind of took me all over the place, honestly, because, I was studying to be a music major at the time. I wanted to focus on music because I loved music. I played in jazz bands and stuff like that. So I was kind of going down that route, but then I also loved to draw. I wanted to be an animator for the longest time. And I kind of focused more on that because I got a chance to, I did my amusement park thing for a while. So I bounced around from the local amusement parks in California and Orange County. Worked at Knott's Berry Farm, worked at Disney. But once I got to Disney, I had the opportunity to kind of hone in on those skills. And I was very fortunate enough to meet a bunch of animators and kind of go down that route. I mean, we're talking old school animators from Fantasia, early days, Snow White. So it was kind of nice to have that access and kind of go down that way because it paved my path for the future, really, even though it took a long time to get there. And there was many different stops in between, but basically that's where it started. And I kind of lead that to my me choosing the field of visual effects and working as a visual effects artist.
Yeah, well, I remember that you had mentioned that you took a degree from the Genoman School of Visual Effects in LA.
Noman was one of those stops where it was kind of a last minute thing where I basically just I was tired of dealing with corporate America stuff, and it was just I did it because I had a responsibility, I had a family, I was a father, bills needed to be paid, or the normal.
That's fabulous. I do remember us talking about having experiences working at Microsoft as well as Amazon. Were those the two large businesses that you worked for?
Yeah, I worked for both of them here when we got up to Western Washington. Yeah, I kind of bounced between those two major companies and doing IT stuff and stuff like that.
So you and Bobbie Jo were high school sweethearts. You were married for 36 years before divorcing earlier this year, and you have primary custody of Gabe. So I'm wondering, what insights can you share with our listeners about marriage and special needs?
Well, marriage, for those that are recently married or about to get married, it takes a lot of work, extreme work. Like you said, I mean, we were high school sweethearts, had been together since 1986, up until later this year. 36 years we shared. She's been my one and only, and we knew each other. We didn't have to say a word, and we knew what each other needed and wanted, and stuff like that. But again, marriage takes a lot of work, and if you're not willing to put that work in when things start to go a little south, then decisions are made and things happen. So stick with it, but really kind of put forth the effort would be my advice to anybody listening today, because it's just she's my best friend. Was and still is. We didn't part on bad terms. We do have a 14-year-old that we are raising together. She currently lives in a different state, but again, we made some decisions in our marriage, in our life, that kind of led us down this path, and there was a lot of damage created because of it. So again, that work wasn't put into it when it should have been, and it was a little bit too late, to fix what was done. But we both admit it. We both have moved on. She's in a current relationship, and so am I. So we're just again, we love each other and care for each other very much. But now we kind of close that one chapter in our life and opening up a new one with our new partners, and we'll see where it takes us.
Well, thank you again for being so open and transparent. My heart reaches out to you. That's a long time to be married, and then chart a different path. And you sound like you're in a better place today, maybe than you were a year or more ago. And you just have to keep moving forward, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
To get stuck or go in reverse.
Again, our differences and just everything that was going on was just starting to become too much. It was toxic. But we've with a lot of help and support from a men's group that I found online and stuff like that, I was able to kind of figure things out, work on myself, and know that there's a life after marriage. We just came to terms that we couldn't live under the same roof anymore because it got to be too challenging.
Yeah, well, thanks again for sharing. So I'm thinking about special needs now. And before becoming parents, did you or Bobbie Jo have any connections to the disability or special needs community?
No, not at all. We knew nothing about it, and it was kind of a little bit of a shock when we found out. It was brought to our attention by a geneticist. She was tested. We were under the impression it was an age thing, and then after getting a little educated, we found out it could happen to anybody at any age. It's not just geared to older couples or whatever.
So when you made reference to genetic testing, was that in vitro then? You found out before
yes.
Gabe was born? Okay.
Found out before Gabe was born, so we knew he was going to be born with Downs. When we found out and got all that done, it was kind of late in the stage because we were basically forced to make a decision on what it was we wanted to do moving forward, literally days, if not a week to two before it was too late, basically, which put a lot of pressure on us because, we were nowhere near ready to have a child with a disability. How are we going to afford it? What are we going to do? And again, you don't know whether they're going to be high functioning or low functioning. And there was a lot of stress. We weren't given too many options to make a more accurate decision based on what, was out there. We were basically pinned against the corner and just say, okay, well, this is where it is. This is where it's going. And, you have a choice to make, and being kind of almost pushed to make a decision that we almost made. But after kind of reevaluating and really kind of thinking about it, and basically asking ourselves with our other two, where if something were to happen to them, if they were to become a paraplegic tomorrow, would we, disregard them or not, stop being their parents? And, obviously the answer was no. So that kind of solidified our decision. So we moved forward and basically got educated. And that's when we found the Down Syndrome Association of Orange County, and with their guidance and help, and Chalk Hospital in Orange County, a new light was shined on us, and kind of just telling and basically showing us that, yes, people with disabilities, people with Down syndrome can very much have a very successful life, and possibly live on their own, get married, and even have kids. So again, that just kind of put us at ease a little bit, and knew that we made the right decision. And so we moved forward, and, not too long, Gabe showed up.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing. It sounds like it was maybe a confusing period of time, right? When you get that information and, you're not prepared for it, you're not familiar with it. There's a steep learning curve. I think that's what I heard you say. And then you've got this very small window of time, right? That you feel like, oh my gosh, I have to make a life or death decision. And maybe what I heard you saying was that you were reflecting on your values, the way you were raised, and you decided that, hey, everybody's different. Right. Who are we to judge? And, let's make the most of the situation. So make reference to some of the fears that you had. So how are we going to do this? The extra costs involved, the uncertainty from a financial perspective. Were there any other fears? If you were to roll the clock back 14 years and think about the time Gabe was born, what was going through your mind?
Well, more or less just the challenges involved, because again, without having such certainty of what to expect, because again, when these kids are born, I mean, they can be born with zero complications. They can be born with a slew of complications. And we were very fortunate enough that Gabe only had, he had 3 complications that were addressed almost immediately. And we've been very fortunate enough that ever since then, he's been fine outside of having Downs, and he's a 14-year-old nonverbal. And still faces challenges with potty training and stuff like that. But outside of that, Gabe's a typical child. He's a typical teenager right now. He's rotten. He's very independent. He doesn't like to be told what to do. Him and I have a love-hate relationship. It was more prominent when Mom was around, but now that it's just us, the boys, it's kind of it's not so much anymore. So he just kind of, there's still a little bit of pull and tug, but he gets it. And so we were very fortunate, and with the support of family and everything else. With my family and even with her mom, I mean, she reconnected with her mom and was able to help a little bit there as well. But there was, like I said, there was some disconnect there between Bobbie and her mom, and she eventually left, and there was a falling out up until the point that she passed away. And they were able to reconcile before, as one of her last words, basically, before she left this earth. Let's, get educated. Let's find out. Look into this, and that's exactly what my mom did. My mom, she was a big advocate of that. She started reading the books and started kind of finding out about it. And so with her kind of looking into that stuff, that really seemed to help. Unfortunately, we left California when Gabe was, he was about 5 months old. She didn't get to spend a whole lot of time with him, but she was there when he was little, and she helped take care of him, change him, and everything else. And because we lived in the same house with her, because we were there, I was taking care of my dad up until the point he passed, and my dad was fortunate enough to be able to hold him and be in his life for as short as it was, But so you got that experience, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing. Thinking back now, was there any meaningful advice that you got from the medical community, from other parents, perhaps with a child with Down syndrome or otherwise?
It wasn't until we got into and got to know people at Chalk Hospital and within that network that we were getting positive advice, if anything. I mean, because again, everything was so black and white with the medical community that all our information came from the association, really. Books, resources. They had support groups. You name it. It was all available, and it was just a group that was there to support others and at any stage of their journey with a child with a disability. But, it was just kind of to tell us, look, we're not alone, and as we got further into it and more active, we found out there was more things online and stuff like that as well, that Bobbie was part of that community. If anything, we just found out that we weren't alone, and there's people out there that could support us at different levels. So it was kind of nice.
Thanks for sharing. Not to focus on the negative, but what have been some of the bigger challenges that you've encountered related to Gabe's situation? You mentioned he's nonverbal, he's not potty trained. What seem to be the other obstacles?
Just trying to figure out what he needs and wants has been the biggest obstacle, I think, because all I would like to do is just talk to my son, ask him what's wrong, and then have him, tell me in the best way that he can, so I could try to support him a little bit better. I feel that I'm not able to, and it's a guessing game all the time, and that hurts as a parent. Just because, when your child's hurt, and, here I have a 14-year-old who's going through hormones and occasionally has a outburst because he's kind of all over the map and doesn't know how to handle it. And I can't explain to him, I can't tell him anything. So that's hard. That's hard from my perspective. And also just being out in public and doing things. He has a lot of sensory issues. Loud noises affect him sometimes. And sometimes you don't even know what sets him off. I mean, there's times where he's fine one minute, and then you can give him a direction to do something else. And if he just doesn't like it, then it can lead into something explosive. And that's hard, I think. That's hard to deal with physically and emotionally, because it's just, it's like you're always walking on eggshells. And I found myself to be, we both did. We found to be almost prisoners of our own home in a sense, because it was really hard to do anything as a family. Because one, you never knew when Gabe was going to have an episode, and we would have to deal with it. We had to deal with it a few times out in public, and also just the public themselves. Just people that are non-educated, I guess, or a little ignorant. Those challenges and kind of like the looks that he gets and the comments that are made. I mean, those are hard to deal with as well. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to get the used to that. Even now, it still happens on occasion, but for the most part, people can evaluate the situation. They nod, they smile, and they will offer at times to help if they can, if they see there's a struggle or something going on, especially now since it's just him and I. And when we do go out, I've had people come up to me and ask me if I needed assistance or whatever. I think those are some of the major challenges. It's just getting used to not knowing. It's always kind of like going to Vegas and rolling the dice. You don't know what's going to happen. So.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing. So you mentioned he's nonverbal. Does he use a tablet to communicate, or how does he communicate?
He does. He uses a tablet. He has a tablet that's an ACC device. He has some software on there, and he is very, very intelligent. He may not be able to speak and may not be able to go potty in the toilet, but let me tell you, he is a whiz with a tablet. I'm an IT guy as well, and it's just, he surprises me sometimes. It's just, he's very, very intuitive of what's going on, what he can do. It's just, it's amazing to watch him sometimes. It's just the way he thinks and does things, and he doesn't forget. I mean, he's very, like I said, he's very intelligent. He just likes to play people. He likes to feel the atmosphere. He likes to feel the people out and see what he can get away with for how long, and see how many buttons he can push. So, typical child. So that's where the typical, child or teenager comes in. So.
We'll be back with more of the conversation on the Special Fathers Network Dad to Dad podcast in just a few moments. But first, this quick message. Please help 21st century dads gather research on families raising children with special needs by having them complete the Special Fathers Network Early Intervention Parents Survey. A link to the survey can be found in the show notes. As a token of our appreciation, each person, mom or dad, who completes the survey will receive a Great Dad coin. Thank you. Now, back to the conversation.
And I think one of the things you mentioned in a prior conversation too is just where you're at Whidbey-Island, right? Which is in the sort of not remote, but you're not certainly close to Seattle or downtown where there's a lot of resources. I'm wondering, is that also one of the obstacles as well? One of the challenges?
It has been. Yeah, it has been. And really, prior to the pandemic, there was things that were a little bit more readily available. Still limited because of the distance, because I'm so far north. I'm basically about 45 minutes away from the Canadian border. There were some things available, but post pandemic, it's just everybody's kind of gotten out of the trade. It's virtually impossible to get anything. Childcare has been one of those things where I have had struggles with for the longest time. I mean, I've been on a child care provider search for the last 2.5 years, and it wasn't up until literally 2 to 3 weeks ago that I finally found one. And my search finally ended, and she starts Monday. So it's great because now, a whole new world opens up because I haven't been able to work. I've had to quit 9 to 5 jobs several times. I tried working from home. There were customer service type jobs. I had to be on the phone. I had to take care of text customers, whatever my role was at the time. But and it worked while he was in school. But when he got home, then if he was he needed attention, he needed to be changed, or if he was having a meltdown, I would have to get up and deal with it. Like most situations, I was applauded for what I was doing as a father. But reality was that they hired me to do a job, and I wasn't able to do it. So I was given an ultimatum of either rectifying the problem or quitting. I'm not going to choose a job over my son. I could always get another job somewhere. So those have been challenges as well. Just trying to keep working and working consistently. And also with that being said, my work working for Hollywood has also been kind of very limited as well because I'm no longer able to travel. I'm not able to go to work at the studios. We have to sign NDAs and sign our lives away for the projects we work on. So, during the pandemic, it was a little bit easier to work from home because things needed to get done. But now that things are back to semi-normal, you have to be there. You have to be where the projects are at. Things have changed quite a bit. So, and because of my situation, I'm not able to travel. And projects aren't usually, a week long or a couple of days long. They could be months long, a year long. Also, the consistency is very difficult. It makes it tough.
Yeah, well, it does sound like it would be very challenging. And the other question that comes to mind, when you have a child with different healthcare needs, is the medical insurance, right? That goes along with being employed. Has that been a challenge, or have you got a solution for that as well?
Well, several years ago, again, prior to the pandemic, actually things were a lot different. They were easier. There were still challenges involved, but they were easier because, when I had to go back to corporate America and I started working for Microsoft, I had some real good insurance from some real good coverage, and basically anything that my son needed was covered. No questions asked. Anything that my wife needed was covered, no questions asked. But several years later, when the pandemic happened and everything else, I went back to work specifically again for insurance coverage to get better coverage than what we had through state insurance. And there was all sorts of challenges there because, things had changed. And I almost had identical insurance that I had when I worked at Microsoft working for Amazon, but they refused to cover anything. So it was just it was interesting to see how that happened, just because, we're talking 2 major companies, major insurance companies, really well coverage, but it was just because of the way that we are in this world today, and the way it was, 10 years ago is completely different. So there's been extreme challenges. And actually, I was actually getting better coverage having state insurance sometimes, there's some challenges there, but they were at least covering things, and he was getting stuff and therapies and stuff. But with those things, when you're having to go down that realm, there's a lot of limitations and challenges as well, because if you need special therapists or you need special, say like ABA services, stuff like that, which was a challenge I had for the longest time and still do, you have to go on wait lists that are, 2, 3, 4 years long. And sometimes they never get to you, or if they do, you've forgotten about it, your phone number's changed, whatever the situation is. It's just, it's very heartbreaking to kind of have to go through. And also it revolves around a label. And my son is, he has Down syndrome. He was tested for autism, but because my son was so engaged at the time of the testing, they deemed him not on the spectrum. But every therapist, every doctor, everybody that deals with him one-on-one and deals with him all the time says he's on the spectrum. So those have been challenges as well, because again, everything has to have a label. And if you don't have the label, then your services stop at a certain point. And that's what happened with us, because he had only Down syndrome. We basically exhausted all the resources he could have as a Down syndrome child. But as soon as, if I would have gotten the autistic diagnosis for him, a whole new world would have opened up for him, and more services and more things available for him. So that's very frustrating for us as parents, because it's just, if you have a child with a disability and they need help, they should be able to get it. And you shouldn't have to fight tooth and nail to try to get that and justify why he or she needs it.
Yeah, well, thank you for being so open. And is there a chance that he could get retested as it relates to the autism diagnosis or not?
Yeah, I'm going back and evaluating that, trying to find somebody to do the exam again that insurance will cover, because again, you have challenges there when you are part of a state insurance program where you have to go to certain individuals to have it covered. But I'm looking at it now, and I'm trying to get them reevaluated. So we'll see. I mean, that's my new journey, I guess. So I tabled it a long time ago because I just got so frustrated.
Yeah, well, it's a marathon. It's an endurance contest, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a sprint, and sometimes you just need to take a break, right? That's what I heard you saying, and recharge your battery and maybe look at it a little bit differently or come at it from a different approach. And hopefully, you'll lean in, right? You need to be an outspoken advocate for yourself and your children. And I'm hoping that you'll have a higher degree of success the next time around.
Thank you. I hope so, yeah.
I'm thinking about impact, and I'm wondering what impact Gabe's situations had on his siblings, his older siblings.
Unfortunately, his sister hasn't been around in his life a whole lot, just because she lives in Northern California and we're up here. Even when we lived down in California, we were separated by distance a little bit. But ever since we've been up here, she's been up here to visit once. And she understands the challenges, because she's also going to school to be a paraeducator because of her brother. But she does understand it. His older brother lives with us. Again, it's myself and my boys. And they have a great connection, even though there is a huge age gap. His brother's very protective over him. He doesn't let anybody watch him or handle him unless, he feels safe. So he's, typical brother rivalry here and there. I mean, he gets on his nerves, but it's fun to see them interact. Gabe's even though he's 14 and he's a quote unquote teenager, there's still a very innocent part of him that still comes out, that childlike that still comes out. So he still carries around his Paw Patrol puppy and likes to hang out with his brother and his dad on occasion. Not often, but he does. So it's kind of nice. But yeah, he has a real strong connection with his older siblings, and they would immediately step in if something were to happen to myself or my now ex-wife, that they needed to be able to raise their brother or handle certain situations. So it's kind of nice to see.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And there is a big age difference, right? 13 years between him and Jordan, and then better part of 20 years between him and Cassie. So I'm thinking about organizations, supporting organizations. You made reference to the Orange County Down Syndrome Association when you were in California. Mm-hmm. Are there any other organizations that have played an influential role, either on Gabe's behalf or for your family overall?
Yeah, well, for me specifically, the Fathers Network here in Washington State, when we first came here, I tapped into them and tried to get resources from them, and just to, I guess, get better educated and develop a network of support and help. Also, the Seattle Children's Hospital Network and that inner network there has been very instrumental and helpful with the things that we've needed for Gabe. I don't take Gabe anywhere but Seattle Children's, just because they know how to handle challenging kids like Gabe as well, because he's been poked and prodded ever since he came out of the womb, and he's developed a fear of people in scrubs. And because he's nonverbal and I can't, talk to him and explain to him what's going on, that's also challenging, and it hurts because it's just, I got to see my son suffer and go through these things that I can't just say it's okay, you're going to be fine. Because he just doesn't get it. But yeah, so between those two organizations and just some of the teachers that he's had in his life since we've been here on the island and here in Washington, they have been a great help and have really kind of curbed Gabe to be a better little human being that and kind of really deal with him and really understood him, because he doesn't click with everybody. So it's taken some special people for him to click, and the people he has clicked have made a big difference in his life. So yeah, kudos to them, because they made our life a little easier.
You talk a little bit about education, and I'm wondering, is he in a mainstream program or in a special ed program?
So he's in a special ed program. He just started high school. He's a freshman, and it's still hard to believe that I'm saying that, but he is a freshman this year. So yeah, he's in high school. He's getting the high school environment. So he just started. He just started on Tuesday. So I mean, there's been a couple challenges there, but again, with new environment, new teachers, new everything, he's pushing to see what he can get away with. He's had that teacher in the past before during summer school and stuff. So she knows Gabe. She knew him at a different time when he was having some more challenges. She hasn't really dealt with him since he's been a little bit more mellow, because he does take medication to help him kind of curb some of those problems, or not really problems, but just the outbursts that he has on occasion. So that helped. He's an eloper. He likes to run. He likes to try to escape, unless he has somebody sitting right next to him, kind of holding him down to the chair or duct taping him to it. Then he's off and running, and he's waving goodbye to everybody. So.
So I'm wondering about advice now, and I'm wondering if there's any advice that you can suggest for parents, maybe parents raising a child with special needs, not necessarily Down syndrome.
Have a lot of patience. Every one of our special children are very different. They're very independent. Get educated, talk to as many people as you can, join networks, read books, do what you can, because the information's out there. And unless you look for it, it's not going to be offered to you just independently. And every situation is different. Every person is different. Do your research, get on Google, programs like this that you can tap into and try to get advice. But yeah, I mean, just try to get as much as educated and try to find that support, because you will need it at some point. It's not an easy journey. It started off, I wouldn't say easy for us, but it started off less challenging, and it's become challenging as he's gotten older. But because of the support and groups and organizations and just the things that are out there, we've been able to kind of make modifications and be able to deal with the challenges ahead of us. There's not one solution for one thing. You can't apply the same concepts you applied with your other children to your special needs children, because it just doesn't work. You have to adapt to them and what works for them, because it's going to make your life a lot easier, and it's going to make their life a lot more enjoyable. Those are the biggest things I've kind of learned along the way, and I'm still learning. Every day is a learning curve. Like I said, you never stop learning. They teach you something every single day. It's fun. I mean, it's fun to kind of grow together. Very frustrating at times, but fun nonetheless.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing. So why is it that you've agreed to be a mentor father as part of the Special Fathers Network?
Well, I mean, I just, I figured I've had a lot of challenges along the way. And when we started this challenge, or this journey, we didn't have anybody. It was hard at times, but I figure, I got 14 years of experience, and there's been different levels of challenges. And if I can help somebody else, even just a little bit along the way, I'd be more than willing to help any way I can, because like I said, every one of these kids are different, and they're special, and you have to approach them all very differently. You can't just pull out an instruction sheet and follow the same thing for all of them, because they're all individual people. And just like with my son, they say Down's kids are very lovable and like hugs and all this and that. My son, he's the complete opposite. He's a very independent person, and he likes his attention, but he likes to be left alone as well. So I mean, it's just we've encountered a lot of different things along the way, and we've had some help, and which has helped us. And if I can turn around and do the same thing for somebody else who is either about to start their journey or already is on their journey and maybe just needs a different perspective of things. And yeah, I mean, that was my main reason for wanting to do this.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing. We're thrilled to have you involved. And it's not lost on me that, you're 14 years in, Gabe is 14 years old. And it's great that you're making yourself available, perhaps to mentor a younger dad. But there's going to be a huge opportunity for you to connect with some of the more seasoned dads in the network who are 5 or 10 or more years ahead of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to be learned. And, you're of the right mindset, which is I'm not going to try to figure this out on my own, right? I want to be part of a group of people that understand and accept. So this isn't such a challenging journey, right? It can be very challenging if you want to make it challenging. Right?
Absolutely.
But it makes it a little bit easier if you're, going through this with others that have been there and done that.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody wants to learn more about your work or to contact you, what's the best way to do that?
Email would probably be the simplest and easiest way to do it because of my schedule and just things that I, the multiple things that I got juggling and going on. Feel free to reach out via email to make the initial contact. We can go back and forth, and then we can always connect via phone or with technology. We could do a Zoom call or whatever. So but I think email would be the simplest to get going in the very start.
Okay. We'll be sure to include that in the show notes, so it'll make it as easy as possible for somebody to reach out to you. Gus, thank you for your time and many insights. As a reminder, Gus is just one of the dads who's part of the Special Fathers Network, a mentoring program for fathers raising a child with special needs. If you'd like to be a mentor father or are seeking advice from a mentor father with a similar situation to your own, please go to 21stcenturydads.org. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of the Special Fathers Network Dad to Dad podcast. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. As you probably know, the 21st Century Dads Foundation is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization, which means we need your help to keep our content free to all concerned. Would you please consider making a tax-deductible contribution? I would really appreciate your support. Gus, thanks again.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for listening to the Special Fathers Network Dad to Dad podcast. The Special Fathers Network is a dad-to-dad mentoring program for fathers raising children with special needs. Through our personalized matching process, new fathers with special needs children match up with mentor fathers in a similar situation. It's a great way for dads to support other dads. To find out more, go to 21stcenturydads.org.
And if you're a dad looking for help or would like to offer help, we would be honored to have you join our closed Facebook group. Please go to facebook.com/groups and search Dad to Dad. Lastly, we're always looking to share interesting stories. If you'd like to share your story or know of a compelling story, please send an email to david@21stcenturydads.org.
The Special Fathers Network Dad to Dad podcast was produced by me, Tom Couch. Thanks again to Horizon Therapeutics, who believe that science and compassion must work together to transform lives. That's why they work tirelessly to research, develop, and bring forward medicines for people living with rare and rheumatic diseases. Discover more about Horizon Therapeutics at horizontherapeutics.com.